Anthony was amazing. When he walked into the room, you were immediately drawn into his world. He was someone who was always out to help anyone. At the drop of a hat, he would run to anyone's aid. So every day I wear his bracelet, has his name, Anthony. It was his bracelet. And this is the life preserver pin, and in the center is actually my son's birthstone. It's a way for me to always keep him with me in the work that I do. He's my first thought in the morning, my last thought at night. He was actually on the waiting list for the Philadelphia Fire Department. He was a volunteer firefighter with the Huntington Valley Fire Department. You know, he had that protective services. He wanted to give. I didn't see the highs and the lows. Anthony, whenever he presented, he was always high. He was always walking into a room, and if he had those lows, he hid them. He hid the pain. I can't wrap my mind around the fact that he talked to me about everything in life, but this one dark secret he couldn't share. I lost Anthony 4 days before Thanksgiving. And it was that morning, driving to work, as I do every single morning, calling him at 6:30 in the morning and not getting an answer for over 2 hours. When my husband got to the door that Monday morning, we found that he had passed that night. No indication, no warning signs. Blindsided, totally blindsided by this loss. I don't think I'll ever heal from this loss. It's as bad today as it was the day that it happened. You know, suicide is an irrational act, and we sit here with rational minds and try to wrap a rational mind around that, and it's impossible.
Exactly.
I facilitate a support group for suicide loss, and I've been doing it for about 8 years. It's called Life Resurrected. It's at St. Albert the Great Church in Huntington Valley. And it gives people a place to come and share their grief and know that they're not alone in this grief.
I like to come because I hope that maybe I can be some comfort.
Families are torn apart by this grief and this chaos. So it's really important to create a safe environment where these families can come and share what they're going through. This is not a grief that you can suppress. This is not a grief that should be pushed down. This is a grief that really needs to be dealt with because it's a very complicated grief. And that's probably the most important thing about the support group, is that it's a safe environment and that it remains a safe environment for all the survivors that come. People will experience grief differently, and then we have society trying to define our grief or telling us how long our grief should last. What I've come to find in suicide grief is the most important thing that you can hold on to is peace. You have to have peace.
It is because of you we are turning the tide on suicide statistics. We are going to support those who have been touched by the tragedy of suicide and also those who struggle. We are the Philadelphia family.
How dark is that place that they can't get themselves out of that darkness? And so that's why I started working with AFSP and working on their Out of the Darkness walk. And it started out with 649 walkers, and we raised $75,000. And this past year we had over 7,000 walkers, and we raised $550,000. You know, a lot of people have a hard time thinking about the walk when you say, well, there's a walk for suicide. There's a lot of people that have survived suicide, that they're still living today. They have lived experience, and we celebrate that they're with us. Like the camaraderie of people getting together and lifting each other up from a loss that is just so devastating. and it's healing for those who have lost someone because they're surrounded by so many other people that know their loss and understand their loss. I want to see this walk go away. Will that ever happen? I don't think that we'll eradicate suicide, but these statistics are not something that we should be complacent with or be willing to live with. We're losing our children. We have people attempting as young as 9. This is not acceptable. And as a society, we should be unwilling to accept it. When you first lose someone to suicide, you don't think that you're ever going to have joy again or happiness in your life. It seems like something that's just so far away. I felt, oh my God, if someone's thinking about taking their life and they can see the pain in my face from losing someone, maybe it would change their mind. Maybe it would make them reach out for help. So it's really important to say the word suicide. It's really important to hear people say, I'm thinking about hurting myself. It's really important to have people know that if you're thinking about hurting yourself, that that's not the answer. And if I could change that today, I'd have Anthony here today, just as everyone else that has lost someone to suicide, because there's answers. And we're finding those answers. And we want those answers and those resources available to everyone. No one should be just surviving in this life. People should be thriving in this life. This was a kid that wanted to change the world. And although he's not here to do it in person, he's doing it through me. I would give anything in the world to have my son back. But I wouldn't change who I've become because of that loss.